So basically, I saw this film a couple weeks ago because I went to SUNY conference. All of the SUNY schools came together, and basically the entire theme of our conference was sustainability and going green. And we watched your film. We didn't get to finish it because of time, but I have to
It's way
finish
too
it
long.
today. Yeah,
It's
it's a
always
little
been too
long,
long.
but that's a good thing because there's a lot of information. But I I just guess I don't get how America is obviously really trying to push for this going green thing and everything, but then you've got these companies that are doing all this drilling, and they have all these fluids with all these chemicals that are barely pronounceable and everything, and they're saying, oh, this isn't harmful for you, but then when you have films like this that say, oh, that are showing you that it's actually affecting people, they're completely denying everything. Like, they're telling you that your film is lying and that everything is okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with what they're trying to do at all. Everything, all these news articles, films that are winning awards, everything's just completely a lie. And
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how everybody starts to be a liar. The New York Times is a liar. ProPublica, they're way off. They won the Pulitzer Prize, but go look at that. This film was, you know, off, and these people are not telling the truth. But what's happening here is you're seeing like a real. John Fenton told me this amazing. I went to see John Fenton out in Wyoming, and it was great to see him. I haven't seen him in a while. I'm very close with him, and I pull up in the pavilion, and there are grasshoppers everywhere. It's like a plague of grass. There's like green grasshoppers, yellow grasshoppers, blue grasshoppers, brown grasshoppers. I mean, you literally like you walk along and you're crunching on grass, you know, and they're eating his crops, but he's not willing to, you know, use the pesticides and all these other things that are going to actually toxify the landscape. And he says to me, you know, well, they've come back 4 years in a row. It's like a plague, these grasshoppers. Nobody can figure out why. Maybe it's a warming thing. Maybe it's something else. He goes, well, if they come back next year, we're going to start eating them. And then he says, and if they win and they eat everything that we have and we're out of house and home, then maybe it's time for us to do something else. You know, and here's a guy. Now, I thought this was a remarkably kind of Buddhist attitude coming from a Wyoming cowboy. But it's sort of like what's happened, and I wish, you know, that there was a similar attitude about the big changes that need to happen in the world. You know, we moved from record players to 8-tracks, to cassettes, to CDs, to MP3s, and there was sort of like wonderful, effortless technological transition between not having a cell phone and having a cell phone, you know. And that was allowed to happen. And there's a similar kind of thing that's happening with the profile of energy, where we could be transferring that to a different way of doing things. But what you have in the way is instead of companies that are acting like John Fenton going, well, maybe we've got to give way to the grasshoppers, and that'll be all right, and we'll transition. You have oil and gas doing exactly the opposite. You have them battening down the hatches, you have them coming in and getting more and more invasive and greater and greater pressure. They have an enormous amount of money that they make, and they want to make more of it, and they put it into the political system. You all know about the Citizens United Supreme Court decision that happened. The Supreme Court ruled recently, in the very first election that took place under this system was the last one, the so-called wave election of 2010, that said corporations, foreign or domestic, could infuse into the political system as much money as they wanted to. They didn't have to tell you who they were or what they were doing, even if they were like foreign governments or foreign companies. Now, that put so much pressure on legislators because they could be attacked from any angle with an enormous amount of money and can come out of thin air. The profit of ExxonMobil, one company, in 2008, 3% of their profits for the year 2008 is the same amount of money as the entire, what was spent on the entire presidential election, both sides, in 2008. Just 3% of the profits. You don't have companies behaving like, okay, we're going to watch this transition move because we know that the world needs to move in this direction. You have the absolute opposite. And the mentality is very bullying and very aggressive. This is what I've seen from these these companies. It is really a question right now, a big, big question that I don't know the answer to, but America will find out the answer to. Who is more powerful? Does the people, power from the bottom up and actual organizing, or is it the money? I mean, we're going to find out. Because the money's going to want one thing, and, you know, who knows what the people are going to want in response to that. But even if the people wanted the opposite thing with money, the question is, who's going to win? And I think our democracy is on one. I interviewed Dennis Kucinich, the congressman from Ohio, 3 weeks ago, and he said our democracy is on the scaffold.
Yep.
So I think it's more important than ever to be engaged and to make sure that people are in these kinds of talks and you're having them on your own. Yeah.
Josh, I feel like one of the luckiest people in the world. My neighbor doesn't want anything to do with the gas leasing on either side of me. And I have 500 acres. I have probably the most pristine area in central New York that anyone could have. I also have, and I would like to invite you to North Brookfield, where just a few years ago, they drilled a well, and they spoiled, I don't know how many wells, but most of the wells in the little village in North Brookfield. It's just a hop and a skip from where you are tonight. And how I wish I could invite you for bread and breakfast. Because, as you're talking here tonight, I'm thinking, Josh, if you could get a hold of Alan Jackson and Tim McGraw and Reba McIntyre, I think somehow or another the five of us could get together and we could come up with a solution to go to Albany and present to them that we don't want our water spoiled.
Thanks. Well, I'm glad you brought this up. We are planning to do a series of concerts.
Excellent.
I think the first one's going to be at Carnegie Hall on November 1st. I'm working with Mary Lynn Evans, who's the director of a film called Coal Country. She's good friends with Willie Nelson and Emmylou Harris, and you know we're gonna see what happens. Dave Matthews, you know, we're working on that part of it. But I still think the first step is May 2nd in Albany, and I appreciate so much what you said though, because it's really important to hear from within your own community.
Yeah.
Things are happening. You know, it's true there has been a lot of gas drilling in New York that's not this kind. It's actually kind of milder in a way. And there have been a lot of problems with that. I'm in touch with a woman named Natalie Brandt who lives not far from Buffalo. Her water is flammable. They've been fracking her vertical wells. She's having health problems. Her children have been having health problems for quite some time. It's going on. And for people to know, okay, I don't know, the organizer tonight told me that someone called him up and said, why are you showing that film? It's all lies. Well, tell what's your name? What's your name?
My name is Dennis Owens.
Tell Dennis it's a lie. And he knows from what's happening right here. And this is what happens everywhere I go. People just say their stories, you know. Sorry, I'm a little cold. And it's clear. People come with their water samples in Pennsylvania to the screenings. And again, you've seen the film. Go to Demick and check it out yourself.